hostess. This is my podcast, Trade Secrets. And today I have a really interesting guy with us today. His name is Denny Tedesco. You probably know the last name. He happens to be Tommy Tedesco's son, but in his own right, really accomplished documentarian and somebody that we really appreciate because, man, nobody really ever documents what we've been doing all these years, you know? Now, Denny, it's pretty unscripted. I really just ask one question, and we'll build from there. And interestingly enough, I interviewed your brother, and you're going to be the only two siblings, I guess, I've ever, interviewed. But
is it like Ron Howard and Clint? I just want to know.
I don't think it's that cool.
So let's just say, wait till he sees that comment.
Yeah, right. Oh, he'll love that. But I was going to say, it'll be interesting to see, because I asked one question, it'll be interesting to see how you both view growing up in the same household, because we talk a lot about starting out. And starting out, the very first thing is, where were you born?
You know, it's very interesting because what you just said, I never thought about this because Damon's 7 years younger than me.
Right.
Oh my, he would have killed me if I said older.
Different perspective, right?
Totally different perspective because Damon's born in 68? I'm 61.
Dude, I'm 59,
right. Baby. It's my old lady. But I never saw my father play guitar, because Dad was in the studio all the time. So growing up, I never thought about I knew Dad played guitar as a living, but never saw him play guitar at home because he never practiced.
Well, see, Damon said the opposite. Damon said he sat on the couch and
But that's what I'm saying. So Damon sees him when Damon's
7 years later in his career.
7 years later,
right?
Because Dad's in the 70s. In the mid 70s, Dad is starting to play his jazz stuff for his own self.
Oh.
So he's kind of doing rehearsing and playing around. That's the first time I've ever thought about this. And then Damon, when he starts at Evergreen, when he started his career at Evergreen, he was lucky enough to work with Dad. Dad was still in the business. I think the last film he did with him was Godfather 3.
How thrilling would that be to be in a room with your dad doing his thing?
I would have loved to be a fly.
I just assumed and Damon works here all the time, and I just assumed that you guys would go to work with Dad and come to Western Recorders.
Well,
it probably wasn't a thing.
No, Dad. I asked my mom that. I said, because I saw something about him working with Peggy Lee, and I said, Mom, did you ever go to the Peggy Lee session? When they were doing the club date. And she goes, no. She goes, Dad always said, a plumber doesn't take his wife to work. And it's interesting because,
it's kind of true.
It's true, but how many, you got a lot of people coming through. How many times you see the kids here? Not many.
Not often. Well, and it's funny, the whole reason, and it's kind of in keeping with that, is the whole reason I started doing this is because I went into our dear friend Paula Salvatore's office.
Yeah. And
she has pictures of herself with everyone.
Yeah.
I never felt comfortable.
Yeah. Don't you wish you did, though?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I started this. Because I wanted to have the memories, right, for posterity. But I said to her, and the other good thing is if we ever do a documentary, if that ever happens, man, she's got scrapbooks. I got dick. I got nothing.
I know.
I got this, but where were you born?
I was born in Burbank, St. Joseph's.
Oh, really?
And I remember what I've been told. I remember when they said they want to name me Denny. The nurse walked out because it's a Catholic hospital. Said you can't name him Denny.
Why?
Because it's not a saint name.
What?
I'm not a dentist.
Well, Damon's not.
Damon's again 7 years later.
Oh, true.
So what they said, well, his middle name's Joseph.
Good enough.
So they said, all right. It was so weird. Think about Moon Zappa and Dweezil.
Oh, dude, that must everyone's head must have been spinning.
But no, I grew up in Northridge, basically.
Oh, right.
So my parents moved out there. I was born in Sepulveda, in a sense, and for a couple of years, and then they moved to Northridge in the mid '60s, early '60s, and that's where I kind of grew up. I was a Valley kid.
Did you now? I live in the Valley now, as you know. But did you ever, as a kid, and I mean, you're around, you're like you said, you didn't go to the sessions or anything like that, but you knew he made a living as a musician.
Yeah, we always knew Dad, sometimes we go, the earliest memory of a recording session, God, where was it? I don't know if it was
Or
here.
hearing something on the radio, maybe.
Not yes and no, because I just assumed that was Dad sometimes when it wasn't.
Right.
But the first recording session I ever remember going to, I must have been about 5 or 6, and the reason we weren't, it was Green Acres.
Oh, I love it.
And that the guitar
Was
riff
it done in here?
I have a feeling it was.
It was done in this room that we're sitting in. We're in
Oh
Studio
my-
2.
oh, I
We're
got-
in Studio 2 at
holy
East West.
shit.
Yeah, we're in Studio 2 at East West.
Oh, God.
And what this room was known for in the 70s specifically was TV themes.
Oh my God! You know what?
So F Troop, Green Acres.
Yeah, Dad would have been here all the time.
Music
then.
for the Monkees. Music for the Partridge Family.
Yeah. Oh, I got.
All your dad. I know.
Can you see the bumps on my arm?
Dude, we're so lucky.
All right, so what's weird is the reason I remember being at the Green Acres date. We were the only reason we were there. We were going on vacation or something, and instead of Dad going all the way back to Northridge, we would just go.
Gonna
from
head
here.
out. Yeah.
And I remember seeing from the booth Vic Mizzy conducting.
Oh my God.
And to me, as a little kid, seeing this man throw his
I mean, it
arms
could have
and-
been in one if it was a big session, but I think it was probably in here.
But he's moving his body, and it looked funny as a little kid. I remember laughing, and that was always
He's like dancing.
Yeah, and it didn't make sense. But that was the first time, and then when Dad got into doing his own thing, and I started, my first time I think recognizing my dad as maybe cool.
Right? It's weird. Your parents
No,
aren't cool.
When your friends tell you, hey, he's on the Partridge Family album. Your dad's,
Yeah.
which is, but don't forget they didn't give album credits in the 60s, so I didn't see all
Which,
those album
by the
credits.
way, I think that was part and parcel, and I don't know, we probably talk about it in the Wrecking Crew. Like, maybe that's because a lot of the artists didn't want people to know that they
absolutely.
weren't playing.
Absolutely. There were two reasons. One, singles they're never going to get a credit on a single, obviously.
Right.
But most of the albums, like, the Beach Boys, you're not going to show that. The Association specifically
I was going to
said
say the association
they
in
didn't
particular.
want that. They said that.
Yeah.
And, it was record labels, it was a, you didn't want to pull the curtain down.
Yeah, you were just work for her. You were the
Yeah.
people behind the curtain. Yeah, that's one of the things I say about this, and I'm glad we're talking to you today too to talk about what you do. This is the people that make it happen.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Every one of the people in those rooms,
Yeah.
from the guy that's setting up the mic,
Yep.
And it's not just technique, it's also attitude,
Yeah,
and that could ruin a session.
absolutely. Yeah, read the
and-
room.
And that's one of the things Jimmy Webb told me.
What a great songwriter. Oh, my God.
But he
Dude.
said, he talked about Hal and my father being the guys that could, if a session was going to shit, they could lift it up by just humor.
By being funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
breaking the ice.
Yeah, you know that they were fucking around all the time
Yeah.
making jokes. Your
Yeah.
dad, and I saw something that your dad did. It was even maybe in the early 80s at MI. He was talking to a class, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was really lighthearted
Very,
and
he never
really
took
fun.
himself seriously.
Which is awesome, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and there's still a lot of players today. Well, you just met someone in the hallway, Phil X, who was a
Yeah,
great guitar
amazing.
player. But it's the same. I mean, these people, literally, like you said, the soundtracks of our lives.
And,
You know,
there's these musicians and the engineers and producers that are just a special group.
Yeah.
Because I remember in Dad saying to the MI students, and it made sense. He goes, "Listen," he goes, "you start your guitar or whatever your instrument is because you love it. You do it and you start make a couple bucks. That's great. If you make a living at it, that's
Dude,
amazing.
It's a dream.
Dream." And he goes, it's hard. And he goes, but you do it because you love it.
Yeah.
But to be in that elite group, and I've been very fortunate to work with those or film these people.
Yeah.
To see that level and go, you're like one of 5 people maybe. And I remember,
It's incredible.
for my father, he reached that peak. He got there.
Dude, he was probably there in his 30s, late 20s.
Exactly. No, not 20s.
But 30s.
Yeah, in his 30s. It's funny because 1960, he's 30.
Wow.
And I think that's, so when he was 23, when he moved to LA, he said he never said he was a great guitar player. He says, at MI, he goes, there's better guitar players than me here. all this. You know, he goes
Technically, probably.
well, he's just technically musicians. He goes, they're much better musicians, but he goes, but I'm a bitch as a session player
Yeah, dude.
because that was a different mentality. He
Dude.
understood what he did, and that
Well,
was
dude,
special.
not only did they read chord charts or read music to do what was required of them, but it was the collaboration between those players as a group and the innovative things that they would do, even happy accidents that would
All the
occur,
time.
right? That would give it the real soul and the real feel of what was happening. I mean, Brian Wilson's a freaking genius, but there was stuff that would happen that was just like a magical moment of like, hey, I didn't think about doing that. I didn't think about playing that
Yeah.
way. I didn't think about, you know, your dad and Carol Kay all the time,
Yeah.
ad-libbing,
Yeah.
you know, and creating a whole nother level of the song
Yeah.
and lifting it to a new place. So one of the things about, you know, engineers and producers, it's like, I always say, I'm like, look, we all love music. Music elicits emotion. It brings back a memory. It creates a feeling. But if you didn't have the people who captured it, you'd never hear it.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, it's true. And I always said, you know, like the Wrecking Crew, as far as I was concerned.
Same with
and,
people who film documentaries
well,
and movies.
yeah, I don't go that far. But the engineers, you know, you got to realize we have 3 hours in those days.
Yep.
We only have 3 hours to
Yeah.
knock out 3 songs.
Yeah.
4 songs was legal.
Yeah.
That was all you could do with the union.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah. So you had 3 or 4 songs to do in those 3 hours. Because you could knock out an album, you could in 3 hours.
Yeah.
But the union was like, nope, you know, we're not going to knock out an album because we're going to, you know, it's like working on a car.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we could knock it out faster, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they did because it spent time, a little more time. But you realize you got 3 hours, and Glenn Campbell, who was one of the guys at the
Yes.
time, couldn't read a note of music. He said, I was in a room with Michael Jordan, but everybody in the room was a Michael Jordan. You had 3 hours and no one could make mistakes. If you made a mistake, you had to go back to 1 because
Oh, yeah.
you can't punch in. You don't have time to punch in. You're not going to punch in. There's no computers. And so he said, what we do is go back but if you kept doing that, you're not coming back.
Right.
And
Yeah.
don't forget, we're at United. We got to go to Capitol next, you know.
Or Gold Star or
Gold
Western
Star,
or whatever,
right.
yeah.
And so you had to really be at the top of your game.
Yeah. We keep talking about them and we need to talk more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
you. But one last thing I was going to say is I recently watched the Tammy Show.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
dude. It was James Brown, Mick Jagger, then it was like Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Yeah.
You know, it was all these different
Beach
artists.
Boys,
Dude, the
Janet
Beach
Jean.
Boys. Dude, and Mick Jagger has to follow James Brown.
But you know who
fuck,
you know
dude?
who the biggest star was at the time?
I thought it was Jerry and the Pacemakers, no?
Leslie Gore.
Right, Leslie Gore.
She was the headliner.
And I think it was the Teenage American Music
Yeah.
something or other.
Yeah.
But Glenn Campbell was in the house band.
Yeah, it's Glenn,
And-
my
and-
dad,
and your dad.
and Bill Pittman on guitar, Hal
Yeah.
on drums.
Yeah. They didn't cut to the band often, but
No,
I was
they're in
watching
shadows.
It. Yeah, they were in
But you
shadows,
could see
totally
'em.
in
You
shadows.
totally see 'em.
But then I see toward the end when everyone's out on stage at the end, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, there's
Yeah.
Tommy,
Yeah.
there's Glenn. You know, Stephen Stills, who's one of my favorite musicians of all time, came in and did a couple of records here. He has his solo side project he does called The Rides. And he was in Studio One, and this is years ago. And he had his Woodstock guitar or whatever. And I was in the room just checking on the room before the session started that day. And he came in behind me and he started to cry.
Oh.
And I said, what's wrong? Yeah, like, what did I
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what's happening? He said, when I was 19 years old and I came out from Florida, the very first session I ever did as a session player was in this room. It was in Studio One.
Yeah.
He goes, and I was so nervous. And he goes, and Glenn Campbell said, just keep time, you'll be fine.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
He said Glenn Campbell was so cool to him
Yeah.
and was so welcoming,
Yeah.
and that everybody was super, super welcoming. But we need to talk about Denny. So Denny's grown up in this groovy, creative household. You got the rockin' mom. I love your mom.
Yeah, she was sweet.
Yeah, she was great. And I should remember this from talking to your brother, but how many siblings and where do you
So there's
fall?
4 of us. My older brother Dale,
Right.
who was 10 years older than me. So Dale was actually
Everybody's a D, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Even the cats. It was D major and D minor.
Oh, funny.
It was so bad. And Dino was the dog.
Oh my, I love it.
It was
Dino, perfect for
and
the
Dum
dog.
Dum was another dog.
Oh, my God.
It was bad. Dale was 10 years older than me. So Dale had
Oh my God, what's
yeah.
this all about, dude? 10 and 7 years in between?
Yeah. No. Well, I have a sister between me and my brother and Damon.
Okay.
So Dale is 10 years older than me. So he actually had more time with my father when they moved out from Niagara Falls. So in the 50s, Dad was, he was taking care of Dale while Mom went to work, and Dad was doing whatever he was doing. And so there was a lot of time. And then Dale goes into publishing. And when he started in high school, he started working with Snuff Garrett, the producer. So Dale goes into publishing, goes to Warner Brothers and starts working there and ABC and all that. So
Amazing.
So that was a whole different world. And Dale played in bands as a kid. Then I come along, and then there's my sister who's a school teacher now, Desiree, and then Damon.
Now, did you ever play an instrument as a child?
I sucked.
I don't play either. My whole family did.
So it's funny you ask. All right, so I tried. We all tried. I tried piano. I tried guitar. I even tried a saxophone. I got out of typing class I had to get out of typing class at Notre Dame High School.
I flunked typing 3 times.
Yeah,
I fucking hated it.
It was like a year class at Notre Dame High School. I said, I got to get out of this, because it was a brother, and every time you looked at the priest, whatever, every time you looked at the keys, he'd smack you with your hands with a ruler.
You're not supposed to look, man.
You got to look up.
Yeah.
And after, I thought, I got to get out of this.
Dude, I still look at the keyboard.
And so then I convinced him, let me join the band, please. Okay, so that became...
I wonder if they must have known who your dad was. They must have.
I'm wondered. But I'm sure they did at the time.
Or the priest rocking out to
I
the
used
Beach
that
Boys.
my dad's a musician. Can I go join the band? You know what I did? I was a banner carrier. I never got that.
Dude,
I never,
that's a thing.
Damn right. I was the best N at Notre Dame. I was, I think, the N.
You and one other guy.
Yeah, that's right. No, I went all the way. It was NOTRE. But
wait, is there a different person for every letter?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. We all had our letters.
What letter are you?
I was N.
Nice.
I think it was N. I'm joking.
But
it's so sad. It's like your dad's a major professional musician, and you're in the band or holding the banner. But I never got to play with the band. I never got it proficient enough to get that sax down. But then the last thing I ever took was accordion, because I wanted to.
Dude, accordion's probably fucking hard.
Well, I wanted to. My mom played a little accordion when she was a kid.
Nice.
So every Christmas she would play a tarantella with maybe 8 bars of it, and then start all over. And it was a running gag. So I thought, I'm going to take that accordion, go get a lesson. I asked Frank Morocco, one of the greatest accordion players.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him what I was doing. I said, do you have an accordion teacher? He gave me this lady down in L.A., and I took this accordion class, and it was like a room like this, but it was like a museum of accordion players.
Oh, God.
All these like in the room, like, oh my God. And I went in, and she goes, do you read any music? I said, well, I can read a little. So she pulls out the accordion, she starts going off on me because the accordion's dusty. And she gets all upset because it's so abused. It's not abused, it's 1930. So she goes, blah, blah, blah. And now she's made me upset and nervous.
Yeah.
And I start playing. She goes, all right, start reading. And so I'm reading the CD, whatever I'm doing.
Sounds like a hard ass.
Oh, she was
woman.
a hard ass. She was. What was the movie with the drummer? Anybody remember the movie with the drumming machine? The drum teacher.
Oh yeah. What's it called? Whiplash. Yeah,
She's the whiplash of accordion.
Oh my God, that's so
funny.
crazy.
The idea, we should do that. I think actually, what's his name did? Weird Al did that. But so she starts going, and I start getting nervous, and I'm starting to race my time. And she goes, "No, listen to the count. 1 and 2, and now she's hit me,
Jesus,
like this." And I'm thinking, I'm an adult. I can quit on my own now. And I got through that lesson. I quit, but I did.
Yeah.
But I did take a guitar lesson last week again.
You did? Well, my husband is a really good guitar player, and he's given. And my older brother's a great guitar player. My other brother plays bass. My other brother plays piano. My mom was a painter.
My God.
Yeah, I don't do shit. And my dad. I mean, I do this, I guess. But my dad he didn't play either, but he was like an electronics. He was an electrical engineer who built the safety systems for nuclear weapons on nuclear submarines.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a fucking genius. But he would build amps for my brothers when they had bands. So I'm from Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
And they would have bands, and like they opened for the Allman Brothers and shit like that. So always around music. I had a piano in our house. Can't play a thing.
Did you ever have to take lessons?
My mom asked me, and I said, no, that's what they do. because my brothers, I have 3 older brothers,
Yeah.
and they all played.
Yeah.
You know, and then they moved out to L.A. and the rest is history. They were going to be rock stars, but they all became recording engineers.
Well, it's interesting.
That's how I
'cause
ended up doing that.
My father, he was never going to make us practice. He was not going to be that guy.
We didn't want you to hate it.
Exactly.
I think. Yeah.
And then it's funny because I kind of wish just would have, again, I didn't do it
Maybe
to
a
my
nudge.
kids. Just a little more. And I remember
Yeah,
always going
me
to
too.
Dad. I said, Dad, what was that blues chord? And he'd show it to me, and I'd do it. This went on for years.
Dude, I
right?
can't even hold a guitar
I
right.
can't. I'm telling you.
It's like
there's
whack.
something wrong.
I know, it's me, man. And my husband's like, well, you got to cut your nails. So then I'm like, okay. I cut my nails, and he bought me this 61 Framus, this beautiful little parlor guitar.
Yeah.
And I literally, I'm not retarded. I mean, sorry. But I like picked, something's wrong. I can't do it.
I'm so glad you're like that because it's the same thing.
It's a strange thing. And it amazes me. Well, we all love music, but doesn't it amaze you that someone could just pick it up and play by ear?
No, I am so envious of every amateur, every professional. I'm envious of, and I see guys on, buskers in
Yeah.
tubes, and I go, holy shit.
That takes balls.
That guy's a killer player.
Yeah, it takes balls. He's just sitting on the sidewalk with an open case, going to get some money.
I think the greatest thing about music and musicians is it's a language that can be spoken anywhere
Yeah.
and appreciated.
Yeah.
Or hated.
Yeah. It's kind of math too. I have a theory that I don't like it because it's basically math.
Well, that's,
and I kind of suck. I mean, I don't suck at math.
Well, that's
but-
why I think my father was so good at it.
Yeah.
Dad was a killer reader.
Yeah.
And he was also a gambler.
Oh, see, nice.
So do you see there's patterns
Yeah.
and patterns in numbers? He'd be
So
sitting
it would
there-
make sense to him.
Totally. And it's funny because I didn't realize that. I realized that after he passed. I realized he's sitting there watching the spread on the game. But also
He's like calculating.
And when he's looking at the music, he knows where he's going. That's a whole
Yeah, it's like a
different-
map.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Do you say maps or math?
I said math originally.
Okay, good.
And then
Okay,
I
good,
said
yeah.
when he's looking at it,
Yeah.
it's like a map.
Yeah, because he's looking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So now we know that you're second oldest or third?
I'm second.
Okay, second. You got a happy household. You got
Yeah.
nice mom and dad.
Yeah.
Rambunctious
well,
kids.
just like
in the,
everybody else.
kids in the valley.
We survived.
Yeah, we all survived. I mean,
my parents, like all the parents.
doesn't it crack you up when you meet people and they think it was so bad, and you're like, huh? I mean, short of being abused, which is obviously not okay. But everybody, your parents were just doing the best they could, man. They got to feed 7 people. I mean,
I joke because
6
listen,
people?
I give my mom all the credit because Dad, don't forget, I look at my dad's book and it's like he's not home.
Yeah.
He's not home. He's starting at
Busting
9
his
o'clock
ass.
here, and then he's going. Then he's coming home the next day, and he's gambling. So my mom's getting pissed off.
Oh, okay.
So I think that was
That
getting frustrating.
dynamic,
But
yeah.
Mom kept it together. Mom was the one that was taking all the calls from the answering service. Mom's handling all that. Mom's also doing
Organizing his schedule sometimes?
Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
Oh no, absolutely. She was. They were a team.
Nice.
So that worked. It's funny when Dad passes. And they split up a couple times. They always get back together.
Passionate Italians.
Very passionate. There was a lot of loud talking.
Yes.
And but after Dad passes, so Mom rewrites history. How wonderful everything was.
Right. Of course. Yeah. There was never any problem.
But they did. They supported each other. If you were like pissed off at one of them, your parents, the other one would stick up for.
They were a united front.
Totally.
Yeah. And that's. I mean, my parents were amazing. My dad passed when I was kind of young. I was 15, but my mom was crazy and bipolar, but when you're a kid, I just thought she was eccentric and she was an artist. So I was like, she's cool, she's eccentric. Wow, why is Mom not getting out of bed today? You know what I mean?
It's hard.
But it's okay, and I love my parents, and I think they did a good job. But it kind of cracks me up when you meet someone and you're like, oh yeah, and you're like, well, what did your parents actually do? And then you find out they didn't really do anything to them, but they're all messed up and they're 50 and they still can't get past it.
Yeah.
It's like, get it. By the time you're 30, you got to get on with that shit.
Yeah, just drop it. Move on.
Like I said, unless they really hurt you.
Yeah. No, I totally
you got to
agree.
go.
Yeah.
But doing the best they can. I mean, making a living, buying a house.
Do you find yourself doing the things that your parents did?
Oh, hell yeah.
It's frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Good and the bad.
Well, you know what's crazy, too? I'll notice very strange things. This is bizarre. I don't know if anyone else ever feels like this. I look at my hands and they look like
God,
my
yes.
mom's hands.
Yeah.
Like the nails and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like,
It's funny you said that because I look in the mirror. People always say you look
oh no,
like
you look a lot like your dad.
yeah, which is really weird because I don't see it. Also, it used to be, it's like
You're
he was
skinnier.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was part of the thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, he was 250 pounds, So, but
Italian.
But I do see my mother in my face sometimes, and it's like, oh my God, it's
Or
like,
in your voice, right? Like I hear myself.
Yeah.
And I just got back from vacation and I was visiting my oldest brother, Rick, who's an amazing guitar player. He lived in Hawaii for many years, worked at the record plant, super talented guy. But he moved back, he left Hawaii and moved back to our hometown of Charleston, which I love Charleston,
Oh, yeah.
but he's doing great and he loves it. But when I was visiting and I saw him there, you remember the dynamic. He's my older brother and I love him to pieces, but you remember the dynamic of your childhood. And I love all my brothers and we all get along. They're all unique and we all are fantastic. But you get into that like we scrapped a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And you remember like, oh yeah, now I remember why you were a dick when I was
Yeah.
a kid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
It's funny because
you had big brother syndrome,
I didn't have the problem with my older brother and Damon, in terms of scrapping.
Was his sister scrappy?
It was a scrappy. My
Yeah.
sister and I were 2 years difference. Now
yeah.
it's like, all right, I was an asshole. I'm sorry. Get over it. So we talk about get over it.
Dude,
get over it.
Dude, my mom was an astrologer. That was like one of her
Oh my
real
God.
interests. So, and she would always like throw some, rando thing in there and she'd go, well, you have a Cancer moon and you're really sensitive and your brother is a Taurus and he's really stubborn. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? He's a dick.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what are you talking about? But I want to find out, going from carrying the banner, we have young Denny carrying the banner. When did you, what did you do for a living when you first started
So
working?
I came out of high school. I was in high school, I did a couple commercials. Not a couple, one. A Pizza Hut commercial.
Dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, it was a great commercial. It was like, so I remember doing that in high school.
Dude, commercials used to be so
But-
much better.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, I was in plays and stuff, and one of the teachers was
so
an
you-
agent.
Acting bug.
So I got the acting bug for a second there, and I remember going to, I was typecast, as they say, Pizza Hut. So I go, and
Because you're Italian.
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't realize that. And I go there, and I'm thinking I'm an extra, and all of a sudden I'm eating pizza, and I'm saying lines and stuff. And so
Oh,
I
I
thought,
love it.
yeah, so I was a national commercial, so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm making a lot of money. Checks are rolling in. This is 1977. I'm thinking, if I do 10 of these a year, I'm making as much as Dad. Or, mentally, I'm doing this. And I never got another one. Never got any other. I never got another audition. I never nailed it again.
So you went from in front to behind at
Oh,
what
totally.
point?
So then I wanted to write in college. I wanted to write screenplays. But here's the thing. I realized years later, the same problem I had with music was the same problem with writing. I couldn't keep it going. A musician plays every day. A writer writes every day.
Yeah.
An artist works every day at their craft.
And it's not tedious to them to do so.
And
It's tedious to sit down and write.
It's like I did it. I had one option of screenplay option a couple times, but that was it. And then I was in college at Loyola Marymount, and I started doing those projects where freebies like we all do in the business. And I got this job on this film called Eating Raoul.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
There you go.
Dude, what a great movie.
So
if you don't know that movie, watch it. It's dark and comedic all at the same time.
It was a black comedy at the time.
Yeah.
Very dark. And it was about two very straight people who
needed some dough.
who they needed some dough, and they live in this part of this building in Hollywood. It was down the street.
Yeah.
And they kill a swinger by accident, and they realize, this guy's got money. What if we kill all these swingers? And
Yeah. And the sick thing was they turned it to dog food.
You really know the movie. You
I know
remember
the
it
movie.
totally.
So they turned it to dog food, hence Eating Raoul.
Right. And
Don't be scared if you're watching this podcast. It's a funny movie.
You'll see me I was the decorator on it.
Oh my God, this is
I got called
Bink.
I was asked, here's how it goes down, is I'm on this one job, AFI project, and there's this older man who's the art director.
American Film Institute.
Yeah, there you go. And this older man is checking me out. And he was checking me out.
Was he creepy?
No.
Oh.
No, he's a very nice man. But
Okay.
let's just say he liked me.
Oh, there we go.
And he thinks I'm very intense on set. Well, I'm intense because I'm stoned. Like, we're all smoking pot.
And you're trying not to fuck up?
Yeah. And so that intensity and being 21, he thought that was intense. He liked it. So he recommended me to the film company who was just about to start doing Edie Raoul.
Wow.
And I remember working at a place down the street, where I'm making $150 a week, answering phones. And I go in for this interview, and they said, I had to call a friend. What's a set decorator do? She goes, you just put stuff on the set. Okay, great. So I lied, and I got the job.
Yeah.
And I got $250.
Fake it till you make it.
And I got $250. And she says, it might be $200.
For one or for the day?
No, for the week.
Oh.
And I was thrilled.
It's a lot of money.
And I was the bodies in the bag.
Oh, dude, totally.
So I was the kid that do anything.
Yeah.
And I worked, seriously, we would work 18 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the greatest fun I ever had.
What was the lead? I can't remember the lead actress.
Paul Bartel?
What's it?
Paul Bartel.
The woman, though.
Warnoff, Mary.
Mary? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, badass.
But it was a great learning gig because it was only a 3-man art department. It was Bob, who, the older man, who was a brilliant, amazing artist. And they all worked, those guys were all coming out of the Andy Warhol days.
Oh, wow.
So they know Andy Warhol, they know Polanski, and Bob and
amazing.
Paul, who were friends at UCLA. I'm hanging out with these two,
That's a whole nother hipster group.
Oh,
the
too.
film
It was a
hipster
totally
group.
different world. And they're friends with Joe Dante and all those guys.
Wow.
And the funny thing is they're talking about these people. I'm like, I go, oh my God.
They're talking about Roman Polanski. You're like, holy crap.
Yeah, and it's like all that stuff. But what I'm saying is it was a great place because I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
But they were forgiving.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, kid, move this over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would I would get stuff, I didn't know you could go to art house. I would go home and get stuff from my house to make it work.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that sounds crazy. That's amazing.
So then I left Loyola and, in 83, and that's when rock and roll videos were going. So
Video killed the radio star, by the way. Like actually.
Yeah.
Like actually fucked up record budgets. But it's okay. We forgive you.
Well, it's funny you say that. I would love to talk to you about that because I feel the same way.
It's true. It's true because when I first started in like 84, 85, you already had MTV. You'd already had that. I think it broke in 82.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
81, I think.
we
Whatever.
had what we called the miscellaneous budget. Ron Nevison's in Studio One next door. I'm sure he knows all about the miscellaneous budget. But the recording budgets at that time, they would be $250,000, $300,000 more dollars. And then when video came into play for the marketing, now the videos, not all of them, but the video's $50,000 or the video's $100,000.
Yeah.
And it came out of and took away from the recording budget.
Well, it's interesting because my theory, I'd love to tell you or talk to you more. My theory is, all right, we were doing big ones and small ones,
But they're awesome. I mean, I love videos.
No, they're great, and it was like a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
My concern, or my thought was, did they take money away from the new artists coming in? Because now there's no A&R.
Right.
And I'm just,
Yeah.
and that I always
artist
wondered about
development might have started gradually going away at that time because you and any A&R person listen to this, God bless any of you who ever actually go out, see bands, and or nurture talent and try to actually move it forward. Tom Petty said that if he'd have come out today, he said to me one time, he said, I never would have made it.
No.
He said, because people spent like 5 years helping me develop, not just my stage show, but recording and everything else and developing my style, helping me. He said, I knew what my style was, but it took me a minute to figure out how to make it available to the masses.
Yeah, so the video, it's so funny. You're the first person that kind of agrees with me. I mean,
you're a documentarian and a filmmaker, and I think it's amazing.
Again, I was on the other side of the camera.
Right.
So I, wasn't talking to the folks at the label who were giving us the money.
Yeah.
But I always felt like, did that kill it? But then, the videos just pushed the album sales and...
It's... it's, you don't want to ever cry over spilt milk because it is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, now my fight now is trying to explain to people like why acoustic spaces matter. To me, the Pro Tools is just, replacing a tape machine or whatever is just the mode of capture. It's
Right,
like a
sure,
new
that's
good
right.
camera.
Yeah.
But the thing that's so special that you don't get anymore is a room like this that we're sitting in right now, and how that acoustic space enhances the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously the microphones, the engineer, all those things matter. But if you can write a good song and you can record it yourself if you're good,
Yeah.
and you can do it in your house, and that's awesome. But I guarantee you, if you come in here and you take that same song and you go into a room like this,
Ups it.
it
Ups
just
that level.
enhances it. It
Yeah.
just ups the whole level. It's just
Yeah.
it's another great tool that I hope never goes away.
I hope so. It's funny
Yeah.
I was across the street walking over and looking at the buildings all, down the block. Because
It's so different now.
So different. And I was just thinking, God, look at that building over there.
Yeah.
And I thought, this has to be protected, this building.
I hope so.
It's whatever. That's
It's like the Abbey Road of
that's
America,
another day.
these places.
It's another day.
Yeah, that's another
And it's
conversation.
funny because we'll get into it with the Wrecking Crew, but the thing is, what I thought about when L.A., one of the things about L.A. is it's very expendable.
Yes.
And
Dude, and they tore down like amazing.
Yeah.
My mom came here in the 40s, and she said you would not have believed how many like you look at the Pantages and you
Yeah.
see that, or the Wiltern, and you get it,
Yeah.
right? But she said almost every building downtown and
Yeah.
every building in Hollywood was like an architecturally significant Art Deco or 20s
Right.
or Spanish Revival.
Well, do you think? So when I say,
I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and you can't change the paint on your house without permission.
And what
You
I'm
know.
in psychologically here, when I was doing
Oh,
what
expendable, yeah.
expendable with because it's a business. We already know what we
Yeah.
listen. Music is a business.
Yeah.
It's an art, but if you're here, you're doing this. It's expendable. You got okay. Guess what? We don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Or you know what? This person's coming in. You know what? That recording studio, Gold Star. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
now a 7-Eleven, and things move like there's no. You know what I mean?
Well, LA in particular doesn't have a lot of appreciation.
No, that's
for
what I
its
mean. And I think it's
buildings.
because we don't, we're like very young city.
Yeah, it is relatively
baby.
too. That's so. Again, you come from upstate New York, or I come from Charleston is an
Charleston's
old fucking
amazing.
town.
That's
It's gorgeous,
it's
right?
one of my favorite places
It's a beautiful
in the world.
city, right?
Yeah.
And having just got back, it's fresh in my mind, and And like anybody, well, you still live in the town that you grew up in, but when you're a kid, sometimes you see things. It's like you think your parents aren't cool, or you think your school's not cool, or you're like, I think, oh man, I'm too big for this town. I can't wait to get out of this town. Or I never thought ill of the South particularly, but you think, oh yeah, this is redneck, or this is
Right.
small, or whatever. And now I go back and I'm like, oh my God, this place is fucking amazing.
And you go,
Great food, beautiful.
Yeah, I could see myself.
Oh,
there.
I'm going to retire back there for sure.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a whole different thing. Well, also because I paid off my house in lovely Los Angeles,
There you go.
and I can buy a really nice
Yeah.
house there. But want to talk again? I keep.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We know you don't have to be sorry about nothing. I just want to make sure we're focusing on
Yeah.
you and getting people to know you. So. With the Loyola, we did a pizza commercial, we've done Eating Raoul.
So I start doing all those videos. I'm working in grip and lighting at this point. And
Okay.
I live down the street at a loft at Hollywood and Vine. It was a Bruce Lee museum.
Wow.
So, it was a dead-end alleyway.
Bruce Lee museum.
Well, that was on the wall. So when that was, I have no idea. But it was a dead-end alleyway at Hollywood and Vine behind the Broadway building. My roommate had gone to an after-hours party there, and it was a mess.
Sketchy then, sketchy now. Don't care
Very
what you
sketchy
say.
then, right? And he convinced the owner, the landlord, that me and him, we would go in there and we would, change it and
Fix it
So
up.
we would fix it up. We did. But it was
Was it
on
like a
site-
little warehouse, a little office
It was
building?
what it was originally above a Albert's hosiery or whatever. It was a mess. But we were at Hollywood and Vine in '84, '83,
Wow.
and we had a great time, and we did a lot of videos there.
Wow.
We did oh God.
So it was a big open space.
It was big open space, but it was on the second floor.
Perfect.
So it sucked carrying a
that's fucked.
Fisher Dolly.
I was
up.
thinking good view, but now it's fucked.
The view was on the rooftop. So we would be up there having a good old time on the rooftop.
Nice.
Next door we'd hear the men's sauna club, the disco all night long. It was crazy. But we did a lot of videos. And videos, what it gave as a technician and as a filmmaker, it gave us opportunity again to
Learn your craft.
And
It's kind of like being a session player. You got to do it quick.
Right.
Maybe don't have a big budget like a movie.
And imagination, because there were no rules. It wasn't like you're in a film set and, you're making up shit.
Yeah.
And you're doing things differently in lighting.
When you're doing 5 jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're the lighting guy, you're the rigging guy.
Especially because it was non-union. So, you're jumping over from electric to grip to da-da-da-da.
What are some of the videos that you did?
We did, I did, not there, but I worked on Chicago. I did Sting, the one where he plays the double character at downtown. And then we did Janet Jackson, Nasty. I did at our place, God, it'll come to me later.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But it was fun.
But it was enough to make it, were you surviving?
Surviving, yes.
Yeah.
Surviving, paying my rent and surviving. But I wanted to write.
Yeah.
And then I got a job as I went back in the art department on this feature, and I realized I was, it was sucked. And then I got into IMAX films. And
I've never seen an IMAX film.
Are you serious?
I don't think I have. I don't think so.
How do you get? That's crazy.
I know. I don't know.
No. I mean, in those days, so. IMAX were all museum.
I mean, it's still a thing, but
they were museum films. And they were only, in the time you just saw them in museums. So someone said, "Hey, do you want to go be a grip in Japan for 3 weeks on this IMAX film?"
Oh, fun.
And I thought, I'm never going to get that job because I'm a grip, but I'm like, whatever. There's probably a lot of people. Well, they never had a grip. So I went, and it was just 4 of us, and I had a great time, and I did that for a few years. And what I loved about it is now, instead of being on a film or a commercial or a video, I'm the 4th, 5th grip or whatever. I'm throwing sandbags. Now I'm the first grip, and I'm 25% of the crew. So now my opinion means something, and I'm doing multiple jobs, and I'm learning everything.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years, rigging cameras and stuff. I went to Africa for the migration of wildebeest. I went to shark.
See, that's kind of shit I want to watch. I want to watch Blue Planet in IMAX.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I didn't go to space. I did go.
Wait, you didn't go to space? Come on.
I did do Great
You mean
Whites.
those movies? Aren't you guys up in space?
I thought when our camera was breaking down, I said to the camera, "How do those guys do it? How do they deal with this shit? Up in space?" He goes, "They're astronauts." Oh yeah, they're very smart.
Dude, I had someone the other day, and I mean, I don't know where Keith is, or somebody could chime in. The space station's still up there, right?
Yeah.
People are still there.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to go outside and fix the duct.
They got the 2 people stuck up there right now.
Wait, are they stuck? Can't get out still?
You haven't been watching the news,
No,
have
fuck.
you?
No, I never watch the news.
Yeah.
So wait.
See, they went up there. You cut this out, but they went up there.
I don't care.
On one of the other space stations. The Boeing station, the Boeing rocket went up there. They got there, and it was really dangerous because they realized helium was leaking.
Oh, shit.
And they were only going to be there 8 days. Now they're going to be there 8 months.
Do they have enough oxygen and shit?
Yeah.
They're going to be all right?
Yeah, because they just...
What are they going to eat? Slim Jims? What do they eat up there?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right? You got some granola?
Hey, who's going to feed my
Eating
cat?
Raoul. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
right.
going to happen up there.
Yeah.
But,
So I did basically that, doing those IMAX films. Again, I started burning out on that. And I really wanted to get out of... I wanted to produce or just make films on my own.
You wanted it to be your show.
Yeah, exactly.
Your ideas.
Yeah. And I want to be creative, and sometimes it's not, And then my dad got sick around 90. Well, he had a stroke at 92, and it stopped his career. And I thought I always wanted to tell that story about my dad and his musician friends called the Wrecking Crew. So 95, 96, he gets cancer, terminal cancer. So that's when I jump over. I'm going to go start making a documentary about him.
Well, and catching people before they go. I mean, you're not old, but some of the people
No.
no, but you're not. But some
No,
of the
but
people I've been
yeah,
talking
yeah.
to, one of the like I talked to Don Randy.
Yeah.
Right?
Don's, and, all right, so here's the thing. Don, when I interviewed Don,
He's the best.
yes, and he's younger than me now. What I'm saying is, when I interviewed Don, he was 61. I'm 63. And I look at that.
Oh, wow.
Now he's 87.
Wait, you did it that long ago?
Oh,
huh?
yeah.
It took a long time, right?
Yeah.
But that was the other thing about this, was to talk to some of these treasures while they're still
God.
with us. Dude, his episode came out. You got to listen to it. A couple, like a month or so ago. And he's 87. He was on his way to sound check. But it reminded me, because you said that your family was originally from upstate New York, and that's where he's from as well.
He's from, exactly. Mine was from Western New York, Buffalo, whatever.
Right, yeah.
And he's from the Catskills, and he did all that stuff.
Crazy.
Don is probably one of the most amazing guys.
Sweetest
man.
Talented.
You know, still loves it.
I know.
Still hungry.
I know.
You know what I mean? He doesn't give it up, and he plays his ass off when every
Dude, he's playing tonight.
Yeah.
Every
Is it
Saturday
tonight?
night with Quest. Well, yeah, he is playing tonight. But I haven't gone. I go to the Baked Potato, but I haven't gone to see him yet specifically, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
That'd be so awesome. But so what I want to get again.
Sorry.
No,
Go
it's
on,
me.
keep
I
going.
keep diverting. It's my fault. So but yeah, you're talking, that happens with your dad, and you get the idea that you want to talk to some of these people and tell this story.
So I basically would go to Evergreen, the old studio in Evergreen, and I put a round table together. And the round table, which, was basically, the idea came to me from Broadway Danny Rose, the movie.
What a great movie.
And I always...
Say what you will about Woody Allen.
Yeah. But
Go
the
watch
movie was good.
watch What's Up, Tiger Lily and Sleeper, and come back to me and tell me.
Yeah. And Bananas.
And Bananas. Great.
But Danny Rose is a story about Danny Rose, who's Woody Allen, who's this weird manager. But there's a scene of all the other managers and agents at a deli at a round table talking, they're blah, 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 and they're talking over each other. And that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
I grew up with musicians or friends, the family, they're talking and you laughing.
Yeah, there's
and all
10
that.
different conversations happening.
Right. And I never saw my father play. Don't forget, I've never, I'm very little at this point.
Right.
He's playing live now or whatever, but growing up, that's how I saw my father and his friends at gambling tables, at card tables, and they're laughing. So I put this round
Dude,
table
our parents
together.
had so much fun. It was cocktails and cigarettes, Friday night barbecues, dancing.
And we're missing that.
Yeah.
But so I put that round table together, and I would just throw out a question and let them go. And I had 2 cameras on dollies moving around, capturing whatever they said, and it was gold. And then I thought, okay,
Well, like we said, them telling the stories.
let them talk. I don't, and it's not even telling stories; it's just reminiscing and laughing. And something would say, one person would go, "Oh my God!" That's
Remember when you did that thing?
and then they go off, or go off on someone.
Yeah.
And that started the Wrecking Crew, and then I kept going, doing my day gig.
So was it hard? It wasn't hard to write because you're.
There was no writing.
Well, this is happening, and it's natural, and it's
Yeah.
it's flowing.
And I don't know where it's going at this point because I got this one thing, on camera. I'm doing film at the time, shooting film, which was a big regret in a weird way, some ways.
Why, expensive or?
And no, it just took. What happens with film at the time? You have a choice. You're going to do film, 16, or you're going to do beta. And it was like, I hate beta. It looks bad. Da, 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 da. All right. So what happens is you make that choice. This is again going back 25 years. What it did was it takes time to get a film crew together. You got to prep the camera. You got to do this. You got da da da. It was more.
Work.
But you only have, when you put a roll of film in, it's 400 feet, it's only 11 minutes.
It's like tape, 15 minutes on a reel. Yeah.
Right. So
audio tape.
When you're doing an interview, all of a sudden, what I would do is I'd be interviewing someone, but I'd throw bullshit questions out for a couple minutes, get warmed up, da 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 da, and then I hit my camera person. I hit him in the leg to start rolling. Matt, okay, start rolling. Because I don't want to waste 11 minutes.
Right.
Because you have to capture
And it's
it.
expensive.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, it was. Because you got developing and then you got telecine.
Yeah.
Moving that stuff over. So I would do this, and then Dad passed away, And now I thought, okay, I know what the story, so I get a couple people more. I get Cher in the film, or this kind of sizzle. I get Cher, and I get Dick Clark at this point, I think, in it. And
Brian Wilson?
No, not at this point. So I have this beautiful 14-minute cool piece, and everybody, I'm trying to like get money to help me make this thing, and everybody would say, and I still remember, it was like, "Oh, this is great, but well, you'll never get it made." And the
Dicks.
reason, yeah, totally, like very supportive.
Fuck off.
But the reason is like, hey, it's only going to make this much, and it's going to cost this much with music. Well, all right, but
I remember.
You know, and everybody's thinking you got 100. At that point, I had 50 songs in 14 minutes.
Right.
You know, hitting needle drop. In the end, we had 110 songs in the film. But I kept going, and I kept doing the wrong thing. Credit card, flipping it, pay this one off, pay that one off. I'm still building on this interviews.
Labor of love.
Labor of love, yeah. I hate that term when it's yours.
Labor of debt.
Yeah. And, you know, and so this is going on. I have kids now.
I was going to say, I see a ring on your hand.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Married to the same woman?
Yes.
How long?
38 years.
Yeah.
34 years, but 38 together.
Yeah, I'm 34 together, 28 married, and boy, are we lucky. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact, it's funny because around 10 years after starting that film, we're in a house, and we'd love to have a new kitchen, but we got no money. And it's like, and she said, we just made the most expensive home movie ever. Because all I got is footage.
Right.
And I'm building all this footage, and I get someone interviewed, I go shoot it, da-da-da.
Dude, the clearance on the one I want to talk about.
Yeah.
The clearance on the music, I mean, Jesus.
I kept going, and then, so at this point, I borrowed more money on inheritance. You know, I thought, Mom, can you, whatever. And she gave me that. And I make the film in 2008, get it into festivals. In 2008, we kill it. 2008, 9, we dozen awards.
If you haven't seen The Wrecking Crew,
it's
literally stop
and
listening. Stop listening to this podcast and go check it out. Now, is The Wrecking Crew on Hulu now?
Yeah, it's on Hulu and
great.
pay-per-view and all those places.
Great.
So I get this thing out there, but no one, I pay for the rights for festivals, but again, I'm still behind. I still need to make $500,000 to pay for the rights for everything. Not just music. I got to do, all the other rights for film or for whatever. And
what is it with like photos? The photos.
You still got, you got to license that.
Is it same kind of clearance thing?
Yeah, you got to license that, and you got to license stock footage, and
wow.
So there's a lot of things that you got, to clean it up. And so I keep going, and at 2010, no one's still helping. So I go on my journey. How am I going to raise $500,000? And I'm trying to get not the record companies. I'm trying to get Fender, trying to get sponsors. I said, listen, on the DVD, I'll have the outtakes of Dad and Glenn and all these other guitar players. I said, just give me like $15,000. You could have the chapter head.
Did they do it?
No.
Well, I work with Fender, and I'm surprised they didn't do it, to be honest.
And there's a relationship with Fender. With my dad was not just a Fender player.
Yeah, an endorser.
We just endorser, but we also were stock people. Dad was a stock person. He bought part of Fender.
Oh, wow.
When it changed over.
So he owned.
So he, in a sense, that there was a relationship there.
Yeah.
That's beside the point. But these companies, and I get it, they hold back. But I'm saying, listen, marketing-wise, it's just like a magazine ad.
Yeah, it's going to last, but it's going to last forever.
You're going to hit the button. So whatever. So I tell all these, I'm trying to find, and I go to this radio guy, so trying to get money from him. And he goes, listen, I'll give you $1,000. I said, what do you mean? He goes, for dedication. I said, what? He goes, you know how in museums and schools and hospitals you put bricks in the wall with family names? He goes, when I was a kid, I'm listening to AM radio. And he goes, I heard Up, Up, and Away on this station and this station, realized there was a difference. He goes, that's how I got into radio technology. He says, do a dedication chapter and put at the name of the song or at the credits, put dedicated by. And then that set me off. I went nuts. I started going after.
So that becomes the fundraising.
That becomes my start. So this guy gives me $1,000. So I go, okay. I do a 501c. I start going after. So $1 to $99, you're a groupie. $100 to $300, you're a roadie. And I created these chapters, studio player,
it.
road guy. And I went from, we did it here, we did a screening here, we did a screening next
You
door.
ever want to do another one? I'm happy to do it
No,
too.
but we did screenings I did screenings in studios, schools, synagogues, stores.
Yeah.
I went around the country bouncing around at this point. I would find sponsors, from literally guys. And musicians taught me a lot about the most important thing was to get those emails from people.
Yeah.
Because so I would go, I raised $100, I raised $15,000 on a huge screening. I take that money, I turn around, I pay off a label. I pay off a publisher.
Yeah.
Now I'm building. I'm paying. So I gotta raise all this money.
Yeah.
And I'm paying it off.
Stressful.
So, and sometimes I lose, sometimes I win. And that's how I did it. And I would go to towns and I would find a car dealership. Give me $200, I'll give you tickets. I didn't pay for a hotel for 3 years.
Nice.
Because I get a room for 3 nights. I give them 10 tickets. I don't care about the tickets. I'm getting my money and filling seats, hopefully.
Yes. And word of mouth.
Word of
man.
mouth. So
yeah.
at the same time, at the end of the screening, I go, hey, I got a Wrecking Crew hat, or I got this, and I had people sign like their names and their emails. I said, I'm going to have a raffle at the end. Give me your name, and I have 50 pieces of paper, and I pull out, and so-and-so won. Well, now I got 50 emails, and what I would do is all those years, I would send them an outtake. Don't forget, the film's not out yet.
Right.
So they become my army of friends,
to
Reckies.
help get it made.
And they keep talking.
Or released.
Yeah. And you keep talking, spreading the word. And that was the greatest thing. And the funniest thing is then you get people bootlegging the film. It's like, oh.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, absolutely.
What?
And it would piss me. Sometimes it would piss me off for a long time.
It's a compliment, but still.
But it's a great compliment.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is the worst were the musicians, and it
my God.
But it cracked me up. Here's the thing: is like, I go, "Where'd you see the film?" Oh, I saw it on the Eagles bus. Oh, okay. Where'd you see the film? I saw it on the such and such. So the Elton John flight. So people would bootleg it, make copies, but musicians are like ants. They're groups of different, they go from this army to this army.
Yeah.
They're spreading the word about this film. So that was the greatest thing. I think the one.
What about grants? Did you ever try to get
I
government
didn't try
grants?
grants. I should have, but
Hindsight's 20/20.
Hindsight, yeah. And so that's kept going. So sooner or later, I got to the point where I had to pay it off, and I had to do Kickstarter for the musician union. And I had to raise $200,000 for the musician union to pay that off. And I was going for Kickstarter when that came in. I went for the $250 to pay off that. Everyone thought it was nuts. No one ever. There was only 3 projects that ever made over $100,000.
How did you do?
I did 312, and the reason was all those names. Don't forget, I've been doing this film for a long time, so everybody thought I was crazy because. Why are you going for it so high? I said, I can't go for 50,000 and get 50,000 and go, we're not done yet. I said, I got to knock it out. If I don't get it, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't keep going back to people.
Yeah.
It's like.
It's demoralizing.
It's very demoralizing.
Yeah.
So don't forget, at this point, I'm 15 years into this project. And I was just saying it last night to someone, said, imagine your friend said, wait, what you doing then? Oh, I'm working on the Wrecking Crew project. It's like that album or that script you've been
It never gets done.
It's never gets done. It's
Yeah.
like, sure he is. But people don't know what I'm doing at night. I'm sending out postcards. This 50-50 rule I made up in my mind. I'm going to Charleston. I'm going to show the film in Charleston with some like-minded persons helping me. I'm going to do 50 miles within that circle. Maybe it wasn't that much. I would hit every record store, every music school, every record shop.
Yep.
And I would build. And that is
Dude, that's some grassroots shit right there.
But I'm
dude.
doing that at night. And I got my little 7-year-old stamping cards. My mom, who is in her 70s, she's stamping the cards, the little postcards. And it was really sweet. I always remember my kid at first grade go, and it's so bad. Hey, Dad, I don't want to go to school. Can I work with you today? I was like, no, you got to go to school.
No, you stay with me. Your mom's already at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay here.
And so that's why, God bless my wife. Thank God she's, she's getting frustrated. Don't blame her.
She married an artist. You know what I'm saying? Me too.
So she's...
I did too.
Yeah, so someone's got to make the money.
Yeah.
And, it came back in the end. We did go bankrupt, though.
Wow.
And I didn't realize, I did realize I was hoping for a big bang on the end. I thought, all right, I'm going to sell this film and pay off all... Well, the big payout wasn't a big payout. It would take years for that payout.
Wow.
So...
Well, good news is you can see the movie, and thank God you made it, because it shines a light on something that was never, ever documented before, ever.
It's the greatest joy for me when musicians come up to me and tell me how much they enjoyed it. And I'm not saying because it was my film. I'm very proud of it, but a lot of it was accidents. A lot of it was, don't forget my editor, Claire Scanlon. Yeah. We would do things and go, well, that was an accident, and not realize. And there were things in there that, if you remember the film, I started with, this is the story of my father and his extended family called the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
I was never going to be a part of that film. And I was always wanting it to be about this group of musicians.
Right.
And a friend of mine saw a 20 minutes cut. He says, why aren't you part of this? I said, what do you mean? And he says, you should be
in it.
Be in it. I said, I don't want to do that. And he goes, but you can do it where we can't. If we were editors or doing this, any one of us, you're making a history doc. You're not, and I was like, you're right, Grady. And
good point.
And Grady Cooper did that to me. And I said, all right, I'll try. And I started making that change. And all of a sudden it opened a door, because now I can go left. I can go right without, I needed humor, bring Dad back in. I could philosophically understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
It was an accident. And then when I saw it with audiences, I realized certain things. It was, yes, music's a bookmark in our lives.
Yeah.
But if it's only a music history doc, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You have to talk about why these folks got there, how they got there, what's their dreams.
Why they did what they did. Yeah.
What's their dreams? What's their downfalls? Because I can relate to that. And what I saw audiences...
Well, like Carol Kay talks about, she's got
single
kids at
mom.
home. Single mom. Exactly.
Mom. One of the greatest lines for me was asking Plaz Johnson, the saxophone genius. I said, Plaz, don't forget, I'm coming from my point of view of watching my father.
Right.
Now, my father was extremely successful when I grow up. It wasn't, I was born into, he's already working.
Yeah.
But I see my dad slow down. He wasn't bitter about it, but I see the change in his life.
Yeah.
And I said, what's it like when you're the A team? Or no, that's another question. What's it like how do you deal with your personal life? And he goes, let's just say I'm going to work. I'm doing the Merv Griffin show. So my kids are going to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't see them. I'm still sleeping. And I go to work at 3. I don't see them when they come home. So I don't see them for a long time. And he pauses. He goes, let's just say I'm a better grandfather than I was a father.
Yeah.
And that is one of those killer lines, because you don't have to be a musician. You could be...
Dude, my dad was gone all the time.
You could be a studio... you could run a studio. You could be a postman. You could be a salesperson.
Plumber, whatever.
A plumber. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, you're working.
And that was the thing about...
But that was also our generation, too.
It's a work ethic.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to learn how to balance. And the other line from Bones Howell, the great producer, engineer.
Amazing.
I said, what's it like when you're the top of the world? These guys, don't forget, they're coming from all over the world to work with these folks in these studios and these musicians. I said, what's it like when you're the A team and you're not? Again, a different look.
Then now you're
not getting the calls.
You're not getting the first call, yeah.
Right. He goes, when you're rising, you're like in the minor leagues, you're going up the ladder, and then you're at the top. And then you got the ramp down. He goes, it's not about staying at the top. It's taking that ramp down all the way, as long as possible.
Right, and keeping going.
Keep it going, and just keep going. And it was and I said this to Mark Maron, who, the comedian podcaster.
Yeah.
And he said something that was really, he goes, that's because we all want to be relevant.
Absolutely.
And it was like, you're right.
Absolutely.
My mom wants to be relevant.
Absolutely.
She, at 80 something, she still wants to say, "Dad, why don't you do this?"
Of course.
We want to be heard.
You want to be heard. You want your opinion to matter. And again, that's a phrase that I use about this facility because people talk about its history and the things that have been done here. And I'm like, look, we're a working studio for hire. We are current and relevant.
Yeah.
Both equipment wise and in the material that's being recorded here.
Yeah.
Because there's young A&R people, they don't know. They don't know what happened in the 60s and 70s.
Some of them never been in a studio, I bet.
Oh, a lot of them. A lot. Now, that's one thing that changed even in my career that you would have witnessed is that the people that knew how to make records that were executives at record companies, the Ahmet Erdoğans, they made records.
Yeah.
They went into the studio. They produced. They worked with musicians. Even if they weren't a recording engineer, like Jerry Wexler wasn't an engineer, but they understood what went on in the making of a record. Yeah. Now that doesn't happen.
No.
Every day I get a call. It happened yesterday. I get a call and then the artist is coming in. And I'm like, okay, well, as you know, the rate comes with an assistant engineer. Do they have their own engineer? Do you need me to hire someone for you? And they'll say, oh, no, they'll just record everything themselves. And I'm like, but wait a minute, they're doing drums, they're doing this, they're doing like a rhythm section and they're singing. How are they, and I don't, sometimes I come right out and ask it, but a lot of times I'll say you wouldn't get on a plane without a pilot.
Yeah.
But I have to explain, look, in order to do this is a two-person job. It would be like you doing a documentary where you're the camera guy.
I've done it. Oh my God!
Bad analogy.
No, it's a good analogy. It's not a good. It's not a good scene. Let me tell you.
But being relevant, being current, and explaining to people what you need to do to get the job done. I am so in awe of you and what you did to get the Wrecking Crew made and the dedication. Oh my God.
Well, but here's the thing. People who say you're dedicated. Well, here's the thing. I knew the film was fine. Don't forget, 08, 09, I won all those awards. I know the film's great.
Right.
I have no problem with audiences. I see what's happening.
Yeah, they're loving it.
So all I got is a bunch of trophies on the frickin', wall next to my most inspirational football trophy. Not even, not that all state.
Your first place ribbon at accordion because you showed up.
Exactly. I'm all state bench, left, right, and center. But it was I'm in debt. I got to do this. I got to keep going because if I
can't let down my family. And
I don't want my kids to have to deal with it. And I didn't want that. Go back to accordion and all that other stuff. I don't want to be a quitter.
Yeah.
So I had to finish it. I didn't want that on my tombstone.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then it just...
So the Kickstarter thing...
The Kickstarter thing worked, but I had all the names, and I did everything. You can't do Kickstarter or any of that shit unless you build your base.
Yeah, you got to have the database and the legwork to build that database. So it's funny that you said what you said about Plaz, and about people sort of missing their kids growing up because they're working so hard. When I saw your most recent film, not your most recent, because you have other
Media Family?
Yeah, Media Family. You have other films. But...
That Russ line.
Yeah, the Russ line when he says, I wish I'd have spent more time with my kids. Yeah. It was super
and it kills me.
Yeah.
Because... the music is Carole King's playing.
Yeah.
But... you see it teary-eyed in his eyes.
Yeah.
And the difference between those guys and my father is harder in those guys because they're on the road.
Yeah. They're touring. They're not even coming home at night.
No, they're doing the studio for whatever, a couple of weeks or whatever on the records and then getting on the road again. And that was something my father didn't do. He didn't do the road. So we were lucky. We did see Dad.
Well, and you were and you point out in that movie, they were very unusual, Danny and Russ and Waddy and them and Lee and the guys in Immediate Family, Steve, all of them, in that it is very rare for session players to go on the road. Now, it's not as rare as it used to be. Now it happens more. Yeah. But it didn't happen.
No.
And they kind of created that thing that it was okay to do that.
Well, yes. But also, you got to realize in 1971, Leland's first job is Sweet Baby James on the road.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't really have a studio.
Right.
He doesn't have the studio chops
Right.
or the gigs, and Russ has done
I
some.
love all those records.
guys, but they really hadn't cornered that thing yet.
Right.
Of being the studio guys.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I
That
mean?
came after.
But when you think of their albums that they did in those, like, look, Rush has 3 albums in 71, 72.
Yeah.
It's Sweet Baby James,
Yeah.
James Taylor, Tapestry, Carole
Tapestry.
King, and
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell's Blue.
Yeah, it's
Now,
insane.
he could have stayed home, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And sooner or later it's going to pick up and take, but that psychologically, with my father and those guys, don't forget, there's 8 guitar players ready to take his seat.
Yeah.
And if he's number 1, you don't take the road
Like you
because
said, yeah.
though
You
the
lose your
road
gig.
didn't pay well when my father was there. That was the other thing. The road did not pay
Right.
you.
Right.
And it sucked.
Right.
But Dad's making a fortune. Hal's making a fortune. Dad did in '67. Earl Palmer and Dad
Yeah.
and Hal
Oh,
Blaine.
what a great player, Earl Palmer.
Yeah, nice man. And so union guys said they all 3 of them had over 400 something dates that year on contract. You realize they're doing 3 or 4 a day.
Yeah.
They had days off. So they're making a good chunk of change.
Good
You're
living.
not moving.
Yeah.
But the world changed in the 70s, and those guys could go out. Now they've established they are the guys.
Right.
Danny and Waddy and Russ and Leland, they're doing it and wrecking the people. And I remember my dad saying about the credits on the albums because they never got credits, And I remember him later saying, "Yeah, it would have helped us probably. It would have been nice to know people would have
Known your name.
know your name." And you realize, well, they were so busy anyways, but it would have probably lengthened their career.
It would have lengthened it, and it would, like you said, it would have opened up other avenues,
Yeah,
maybe.
even though they were working so much, but I think it would have again.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at the screening at the Village, at the end when it was done, and I said hi to Lee or whatever, and I've met Russ a few times, but I walked up to Russ and I very specifically said, because I love Nathaniel Kunkel and he's a great engineer, Russ's son, and I went up to him and I said, I said, you don't know me, I manage East West, blah blah blah, and I said, I just want you to know that Nathan is one of the most talented engineers I've ever worked with. Yeah. And I said, so everything's all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't quite say that directly, but you don't need to worry.
You did good.
Yeah, you did fine.
Yeah.
Your kid's fine.
Yeah.
And and it's all good.
Oh gosh, what a sweetheart.
Yeah. He's so cool. Well, I want to find out, I could talk to you forever, but I want to find out, I know you're working doing other stuff and doing other documentaries. What are some of the films that you're working on now?
The next one, I want to call it the trilogy.
Okay.
Is Wolfman Jack.
Oh, great.
And it is funny because...
What a personality.
Oh, my God. Well, that's exactly what it was. And I said to the family, and I said, my pitch is, this guy was a personality, but I want to know who he is. Because
what is the backstory? Well, you don't have to give it away.
No,
but
his name's Bob Smith.
Bob Smith. My maiden name is Smith, actually.
Oh, there you go. So you can't get can't get any
it's
more
all right.
generic.
It's all right.
And I said, wow. And I had the family, Jack Pyatt.
Oh yeah.
Jack and I were doing it, and Jack was talking. It's funny. We were in Woodstock, and I overheard him talking about this project. I said, "What's that one?" He goes, "Wolfman Jack." I said, "Who's directing it?" We don't know. I said, "I want to do that."
Yeah, you.
Give me that.
Had you done a project prior?
Well, that's all my projects.
Yeah.
This is just last year, so it's not like So
But I know Immediate Family was with Jack. But how long have you been
Oh,
working
with
with
Jack. I thought you meant that's the first time.
Oh.
We met Jack doing Jam stuff.
Yeah.
And so basically, my pitch to the families, I said, I want to know who this guy is because everybody knows him, but no one knows him.
Right.
He's a voice, and he doesn't change. Nothing changes. He's
Right.
always that personality. He's not like an actor where you got Kevin Costner doing this, but you see him on talk shows.
He's the same character.
He's a different person, or you know who he is.
Yeah.
And, he's either an actor or that. And I said, please send me videotapes, any home videos. They sent me hundreds of them.
Oh,
and I'm going through this stuff, and I'm going, wow, some of it's crap and shit. And, it's awful, like all our stuff,
Yeah.
But then I go, oh, my God, he's awesome. He's like at Christmas time with his family. And it's like, Wolfman's got the camera, whatever it is, VHS in the days.
Right.
And he's walking around Christmas time with his kids, and they're all older, the kids at this point. What do you got, Mom? And she's opening up a present, and his mom, and they're all smoking. Everybody's smoking.
Everybody's always smoking.
Mom's smoking. His wife's smoking. The kids are
The
smoking.
7-year-old's smoking.
Exactly. The dog's smoking. Everybody's smoking. And it's like you hear it in everybody's voice. And I go, and he goes, hey, Mom, what do you got there? She's opening a present. And she goes, it's a clock. And it's like, whatever. It was a great clock. Whoever gave the gift, he's making sure he's giving. Yeah. And I'm going, it cracked me up because it was like, that's exactly what my father would have said. Or we would have done the same thing. It's just bullshit, like talking, just having fun, and
just
the
having
food
fun, just
and
having
teasing.
fun.
And so it comes back to family.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing these things, and I realized here's my trilogy. It's about music, but it's about family.
Aww.
Wrecking Crew is about family.
Yeah, immediate family is
Immediate
about family.
about family. It's about brotherhood and sisterhood.
Yeah.
Same thing with the first one.
Yep.
And I thought, this is it. This is the trilogy. Because if you don't have that hook, it's just about something else. But
Right.
Wolfman took care of his family. Wolfman took care of his friends, and the people that worked for him. His son Todd said there were so many weird characters sometimes that would be in the house working. Who's that guy? He'd be like 6'8".
Whoa,
Who's
wow.
that guy? He's a little person.
Yeah.
There's people working for him because he'd befriend someone and give them a job.
No.
And it was like constantly.
I'm really curious. I can't wait to see it because what an interesting character.
It's.
I mean, DJ's another
Well,
characters of our childhood.
And he was a guy that started, he came out of, his family was divorced, and it was, lived with his sister, who was like 10 years older than him, I think. And she kind of raised him with her husband, and they sent him to a radio school, whatever. And then he started radio, and then he got he heard the station down in Mexico, coming over the border, and he went down there to talk to them about maybe doing some stuff, and all of a sudden he realized they were in turmoil, and he kind of takes over the station.
Oh, wow.
And he starts doing his thing, late at night, playing the, Muddy Waters and playing this, R&B and blues stuff.
Yeah.
Where, and everybody thinks he's black, and it wasn't necessarily he was trying to be black.
He just liked the music.
He just liked,
Yeah.
And it's funny because in one of my interviews I'm doing is with Bill Medley, who I've interviewed before. And Bill always said, everybody thought we were black playing the soul music.
Yeah.
And then I interviewed, and I'm going to do Marilyn and Billy Davis, Marilyn McGrew and Billy Davis
love her.
of Fifth Dimension.
Oh, yeah, I love them
And their
both.
line, and remember Marilyn said, she goes, everybody thought we were white.
Yeah.
And she
It's
goes,
crazy.
when we were on Ebony, at magazine, everybody was like, Fifth Dimension's black? and it was
Isn't that crazy?
And it bothers her. She goes, why does there got to be a color on music?
I agree.
So it's interesting to.
Well, and you really show that also in the Wrecking Crew because you're talking about in the 60s and the 70s, they're doing sessions. There was no color barrier. There was no gender barrier.
No.
I mean, Carol, there wasn't that many female musicians, but people don't realize. They don't realize how many women were in big bands, how many women were in swing bands.
Yeah.
How many women were playing, trumpet, whatever.
Right, exactly.
And then you show that in the Wrecking Crew. It's black, white, men, women.
It was a melting pot. That's the thing about
It's
musicians.
about the craft, dude.
Musicians, maybe
They don't see that.
Maybe in the early century or whatever. But there's that point where bands were black bands and you had the white bands.
True.
But then they start intermixing.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, there was the Black Union in L.A.
Yeah.
The Black Musicians Union.
Yeah.
And the greatest story was when I was doing interviews with all these kids. There was Jackie Kelso. Do you remember Jackie?
I remember the name.
All right, Jackie, oh my God, most amazing. He was a great saxophone player, one of the great saxophone players of the 60s. I interviewed Jackie Kelso, and I don't know what Jackie looks like. I think Jackie Kelso is Italian. What do I know?
Yeah.
I heard his name my whole life.
Yeah.
I never asked my father. That's the other thing. Dad dies. I don't know anything now. I can't go to him.
You can't ask him questions.
And Jackie walks in, and Jackie's like very light. I don't think of him as black because he walks in, but I don't know he's black.
Yeah, interesting.
So
Yeah.
we're talking, and he's saying to me, He's talking about growing up in L.A. in the 30s.
Oh, would have been tough.
Right? And he's talking about segregated bands and
crazy.
with Buddy
The Jim
Collette.
Crow
and
circuit, like where I'm from.
And I'm going, I don't understand what he's saying. Because how he's talking is like he's in segregated bands, but I'm thinking...
Well, you're right.
Right. And I didn't understand that. I realized, oh, he's very light-skinned.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but again, I think...
But there was those two unions.
That's crazy. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting, and it's such a positive thing that you see in the Wrecking Crew, and probably always, is that integration. Because musicians are musicians. But you when you see I can't remember what movie it was. It might have been Cadillac Records or something like that.
Yeah.
When they're talking about the history of Atlantic and about how they would record, or I'm confused now, but how they would record, like get white musicians to record black music so that they could release it on the radio, and then it was just
Pat
crazy.
Boone.
Right.
Pat Boone.
Right, yeah.
He'd have a great hit, of whatever it was.
Of some soul song. Yeah.
It very...
But music unites. Music is integrated. You have this... I can't wait to see and hear the Wolfman Jack thing, because that's fucking fascinating.
Well, Wolfman said something in his book, which was really interesting. He goes, I didn't play black music because it was the right thing to do. I played it because I liked it.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to make a point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was just following the art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's important to mention. I mean, learn your craft. People ask me about like, when you first started out and you were learning how to be an assistant engineer, how did people treat you? Because when you were a woman, I'm like, it was fine. No one treated me weird. I didn't continue to be an engineer,
right.
And I wish I had sometimes, but no one was ever weird. It's the same with musicians. If you can frickin' play the part, that's what matters. Learn your craft. Do the job.
And that's what is like I say about Carol Kay in the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Carol's a bass player. She's in this room
Yeah.
with 15 guys.
Yeah.
And she's
She
not
can hang.
and
She's
playing,
tough.
but she's playing bass.
Yeah.
So she's not playing, let's just say a percussion
Yeah.
instrument.
She's not hitting a triangle.
Well,
Yeah.
I always use that as an example, and I know the triangle person,
Sorry, triangle
player,
person.
that triangle player's going, fuck you, fuck you.
What I do matters.
I know.
The cowbell person.
And he goes, yeah, you play Mr. Accordion Man. All right, I'm sorry.
So
You're
funny.
right.
That's so funny.
But she's running the band.
Oh yeah.
And they're following her.
She's carrying the rhythm.
And
yeah.
So I say, she wasn't there because she was someone's girlfriend. She was there because she was. Now, they gave her shit, but they gave all of each other shit.
They gave each other shit. But she could definitely hold her own.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, if you're good at what you... And musicians don't care. Like, in this studio that I manage, I see it often, and it's one of the greatest things about being in a commercial facility that you won't get at home, is the collaborative effect that happens organically.
Yeah.
There's a rapper in one room, there's a string date in studio one, the cellist is on lunch break, the hip hop guy walks by and sees the cello and says, oh wow, will you play cello on my stuff? So the musicians are like kids in a good way.
Oh my God.
Hopeful and no barriers and no prejudices or anything like that, because if you can play and if what you're doing is cool, it's all good.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about Sinatra and some of the cool stuff that he did.
Yeah.
Like breaking down the barriers with Sammy Davis and stuff like that, being like, he's my singer. He's a singer.
Yeah.
He's not a black guy. He's a singer.
No. And he's Jewish.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I'm gonna try to tie this up, but I want you to talk about just where can people see your stuff? What you're doing the Wolfman Jack thing?
Yeah,
Is there anything else you're working on?
Our business where it's at now, we're still looking for money for the Wolfman Jack. I think we're getting better, closer.
How do you do it now? Do you do grants and sponsors?
Unfortunately, like the networks, very few films are being not
funded
by
bankrolled.
I mean, listen, Netflix is not. My films are very difficult to make because when I say that, because they're not. I'm not doing Taylor Swift, Doc.
Right.
I love to do Taylor Swift. God bless her. But
Taylor,
it's not, Taylor,
Denny is available,
for
and
your
I know
next
you
one.
respect the
did well with
history.
it, yeah. But it's. I'm trying to find those stories that are unknown that I can relate to. That are I'm also trying to do Manhattan Transfer.
That'd be great.
They were the group for me, and Alan and Paul, and we're talking now. I've gone through a lot of footage that he was shooting, and that's in the works.
I think now you probably could get, some of those like Fender, Taylor, whomever, some of those people, maybe more and more, they'll see these films and they'll see the impact that they have and they'll see the positive marketing.
Absolutely.
Without question.
Listen, why?
Maybe someone will listen to this podcast and go, hey, I need to reach out to Denny Tedesco and help him.
You got a couple thousand, I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's I'm basically raising the money. How do you raise the money? You talk to people.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, someone's go, I got an uncle that wants to put up $50,000 in there. Oh,
There you go.
really? Okay, who is he?
Yeah.
Uncle Bob. Okay, call Uncle Bob.
God bless Uncle Bob.
So that's.
So you got Wolfman Jack.
The Wolfman Jack, I got Manhattan Transfer going right now, both of them.
Any other projects you and Jack working on that you want to talk about?
Those are the ones that we're working on. Oh, and that's the one.
Didn't something else just get released too? What was it?
No, he's doing those other ones. He's
Okay,
got.
that don't matter. We all want to talk about ones Denny you're doing. Sorry, Jack. You get your own episode, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. A lot of times on this, and one of the things I want people to know, and you illustrated it perfectly describing your journey, is there's no one way to end up doing what you love to do. It's a stumbling process. I mean, I was going to be a marriage counselor. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was studying psychology.
Jesus.
So then I ended up.
Well, you used a lot of that at this place.
Right, how perfect. But there's no one, if you're a young person and you're listening to this or watching this and you're thinking, man, I want to be a documentarian, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be an accordion player.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Your parents are going to get mad that I'm saying this, but just wing it, man.
Well, and here's the thing. You go for it.
Yeah,
and the thing is,
don't be a pussy.
Here's the thing,
said it.
If I listen to all the time, if I listen to everybody who said it ain't going to work, I should have quit a long time ago. But, when the door, I always say, if the door closes, find another way in, go through a window.
Yeah, one door closes, another one opens.
And the other thing is, don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a wiener.
Don't blow people, don't piss off people, because I promise you, some of those people that were dicks to me 20 years ago when I was trying to get these projects off, all of a sudden they're back in my life, and they're different.
Yeah, they're back in your corner.
And they think they helped you, and they didn't help you.
It's like, no, you gave me a hard time. I mean, I think it's so important just to say to people, what was it? It's kind of like Edison, right? Or it's like, how many times did he try to do his thing? 10,000 times before he got it right, Just keep doing your thing, If you want to be a musician, if you want to be a filmmaker, whatever your creative thing is that you're following, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, and you'll find your tribe.
Yeah.
You'll find your people that'll support you.
That's what, especially with you guys, with musicians. Yeah. The problem now, you have to get out there. You could be the greatest player at home, but it doesn't mean shit because you gotta meet other people. And musicians have that opportunity to play live in a club, sit in. That's how my father did it. It's no different now.
The advent of social media has been helpful in the sense that, you now can reach a bigger audience, quicker, and you can build a fan base, But at the end of the day, butts in seats, downloads, whatever it is.
Learn marketing.
Yeah.
If
nothing else, if no takeaway, learn marketing.
Learn marketing, because it really... you're not just a musician. That was one thing my father said to me, or said to everybody. There's music, there's the music business. You have to understand, sometimes they mix.
Yeah.
Music's first, but you have to realize it's a business. So make sure, if it is what it is.
Yeah. I tell the guys that work for me on my side of things, I'm like, look, no matter what happens with commercial recording studios, there's more music and more content in more places than there's ever been.
Yeah.
Same with film. And I'm like, You need to understand how to get paid.
Yeah.
You need to understand that you are self-employed and you are running your own business.
Yeah.
And what you'll learn here, you'll meet people along the way that will help launch your career. And at the end of the day, you will be able to make a living because you'll be able to go to a studio. You'll know how to do that. You'll be able to mix in your house. Someone can send you tracks.
Yeah.
You can overdub on them, whatever. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
So you can do it and you can make a living doing it. And I think what you've done is so cool, dude,
I
because
appreciate it.
people never saw that. They didn't realize
Yeah.
that these musicians were playing on everybody's record of the Wrecking Crew. And now what you've done with Immediate Family
Yeah.
and now the Wolfman Jack thing. I can't wait to see it.
I
And I'm
so
just so
appreciate
grateful
it.
to you. Thank you for doing this
Thank
today.
you so
I'm really
much.
grateful to you for doing
It's
it.
so much fun.
We could talk forever.
I know we could.
It's
We'll
super
cut it
interesting.
out.
Anyway, we don't really edit much, so thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you,
crew.
Nate. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everybody. Super fascinating.